Okay. Hello, all. I'm Ana Luisa from Portugal, and I will be doing a lesson on cooking macrobiotics for beginners. I know that all of you are senior in macrobiotics, so probably a major part of what I'm going to tell you are familiar with, but I was asked to prepare something for newcomers to macrobiotics, so that's what I will do. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Ginat, once again for having me here in this forum. And I will try to make it light and bright if I can. And just to start, I want to tell you a little bit about my relationship with macrobiotics, which is not always a pacific relationship. And at some point, I realized that probably most of us have things in our lives that are non-negotiable, things that we don't change no matter what. And as I was following my studies in macrobiotics, I realized that the love for my family and friends was a non-negotiable thing in my life. And I realized this because I was confronted with the reality that some of my friends started to live in a separate path than their families. And many of my women colleagues started preparing two different meals, one for themselves and another meal for their families. And this was not comfortable to me, and to me sharing a meal with the family is one of the most important things I have. And another thing was about freedom, and I also already spoke about it here in my previous presentation, because I was taught that macrobiotics was a path towards freedom. And what I was witnessing was different colleagues doing what someone was telling them to do, and not what they were sometimes in harmony to do. So they were doing some changes in their lives, because they started to being afraid of worsening their conditions or having some kind of disease, whatever. And that made a big shift in their family environments and friends. And since I realized that I was not willing to negotiate my friends and family dinners and gatherings, whatever. And I also enjoy a lot traveling, and experimenting other countries' foods is also a pleasure we have. It is expanding my freedom. And so I started developing my own relationship with macrobiotics. And this resulted to me and to my family. And the unique advice I can share with newcomers to macrobiotics is to find what is really important in their lives, in your lives, or what is non-negotiable, and build your relationship with macrobiotics based in those important things. So considering these two presets, I started with small steps, small changes. First, I find out that macrobiotics taught me how to do soups in a more different way, with different colors, different textures, different energetic qualities. So I started with the soups because we in Portugal we still have the habit of eating soup on a regular basis. So after the soups, I started preparing different vegetable side dishes, then gradually integrating seaweeds. After that, starting with soft porridge for breakfast, I started introducing bancha and kukicha tea, green tea, quitting milk, dairy products, and so on. We changed a lot our diet without even noticed. It was a slow process, a gradual process. And what happens is that when I go to any family or a friend's house, I eat whatever they prepare to me, because I feel that food is a sacred thing, and the cook is the prophet, if we can call him that, because the cook is preparing with love and joy and with their own energy, her energy, a meal to share. So considering that, I eat whatever anybody prepares to me. And when someone comes to my place, to my house, they do the same, because I respect what they do, their beliefs, and they respect what they do. So there is no conversation about food. We eat and try to have pleasure with that. So having said that, I will try to give some lights to macrobiotics in a glance, because 45 minutes run fast. So I will start right away with that. The first question I proposed is, what is the main thing that distinguishes macrobiotics from other cooking, other specialties? And of course, we all know is the energetic view about food, either according to the constitution, physical constitution of the food, and also the effect that the food will have in us. So I am talking, of course, about yin and yang, those two polarities of energy, being yin a more expansive and upward energy, and yang a more contractive, going to the center. The word is missing. Gathering energy, more gathering energy. So we like to classify things in macrobiotics. So in a general way, we know that we can put all animal food in the more yang side, and all plant food in the more yin side. But of course, nothing is solely yang or solely yin. And in each group of foods, we can find, for example, if we start with animal food, we will find meat more yang, if it is red blood and a bigger and heavier animal, or less yang if it is with less fat and a smaller animal. Also, if it is fish, of course, fish and sea animal food is much more yin than the ground animals, those who live in the soil and those who fly, the birds. But we are always comparing things. So it always depends on each food characteristics and the way we cook it. Comparing these yin and yang, if we go to the vegetable kingdom, I will start now showing. I will start. Oh, first of all, of course, the middle food are cereals, are grains. In macrobiotics, we consider that the grains are the more balanced foods that exists, and this is why grains have such a meaning and a huge role in our plates. This perspective has changed a lot in recent years, and many teachers don't advise such a huge quantity of grains in the plate. So the previous teachers used to advise around 50 to 60%, from 30 to 60% of cereals in the plate. And in nowadays, most of us don't feel so comfortable in eating such an amount of all grains. So the amount is reduced around 30%, and more people, including myself, but I will explain that later, often eat more light grains like pasta and whole wheat couscous and those kind of cracked grains, inclusively in breakfast. I hardly eat whole grains porridge for breakfast because it is too heavy for me. But each one of us needs to try and to see whatever is better, whatever suits best for them. So starting this interesting comparison between yin and yang in food, I will start with greens, as we like to call them. We have vegetables, then we have roots and greens. And I will start with greens because are the vegetables which have a more expansive and outwards energy. They are, at least for those who live in the cities and have quite stressful jobs, it is a staple food, greens, because they play a huge role in balancing our stress and anxiety, and at the same time they have lots of phytonutrients that help to release toxins and non-beneficial nutrients that we eat in our environment, in our food and in our environment, because we are all the time interacting with everything that surrounds us. So greens. We have greens that grow near the soil. We have greens that grow more outwards and with big leaves. And those differences give each one of them a specific quality. I will start with one of my favorite vegetables, celery. It is celery, isn't it?
No.
No? Leek, sorry, leek. It is a leek. And leek is good for liver. And my liver is always a bit stuck. I have a stuck energy in my liver. So this is a vegetable that I use often because I enjoy it very much, and is quite easy to prepare. It's the most easiest thing to prepare, and I will do a small dish today with leek. And leek is a very interesting vegetable because it doesn't have big roots. It has small roots, but it's really strong. It is compact, it's firm. So leeks have this strong upwards energy, yin energy, but at the same time is dense, is compact. So it has a very good balance between yin and yang energies, between earth force. It has a huge earth force that makes it grow, and heaven force is not so strong because it is not. It is the opposite. It has both strong forces because it is not wide. This yin and yang is always tricky. For example, this is a pak choi cabbage. The force of the earth makes it expanding, so it is more expansive than the force of the heaven. Just to compare this, I'm sorry, I will unmute my phone. I have here a parsnip, which is a root vegetable, and the parsnip has a really strong heaven energy, which throws it to the bottom of the earth. So these are, sort of speaking, opposite. So this has a strong inwards energy, and this has a more strong outwards energy. So this is more yin, more expansive. This is more yang, more contractive. But by comparing, I told you about leek. I have this, we call it heart cabbage. I don't know the name in English, but because it has, if we turn it over, it has a shape of an heart. So here in Portugal, we call it heart cabbage. But in macrobiotics, we don't turn around the food. We like to appreciate it and take care of it according to this energy. So earth energy, heaven energy, earth energy. But we have another cabbage. They are all of the same family. It seems that it is the Brassica. I don't know if it is the name in English. It is scientists now say that these are the most powerful foods that we can eat. The foods of this family, where we can find cauliflower, broccoli, and all kinds of cabbages. Sorry, the names in English are a bit more difficult, but you can search for it. And because they all have the wider range of phytonutrients per calorie, so they are very powerful foods. So again, by comparing, which one is much more yang? Which one? The round one, yes. It is much more compact. And even their leaves, the leaves of this cabbage are much more stronger, much more dense than this one. Again, since I live with a lot of stress, because work demands that, I will cook this. So today I will cook these two vegetables in two complete different ways. These will be sauteed with seaweed, and these will be cooked with a small quantity of water and light seasoning. So these will be a bit more yang because it will cook in a more with more time. It will be a longer cooking method, and these will be with more heat, more bright, more yin and energy. So, and to finish, of course, in the greens we can find lettuce, and lettuce is much more yin. It has much more water quantity in its constitution, so it is a really yin food. But among the raw foods, I don't know if you have this. It is endive or endive. I don't know the name.
Yeah, endive.
This is a wonderful food vegetable to introduce the bitter taste in our daily lives. I like to mix it with lettuce. It turns the salad much more complete and crunchy. It is very good to add the crunchy texture in our daily life. So this is the basic yin and yang in the greens. If we go to the of course, I have here a little bit of cauliflower. I had this spare. It is more yang than these ones because the outsider leaves are green, but the inside is yang, much more compact, much more dense. So it's a much more yang food or ingredient. If we go to the foods, to the vegetables that grow under the soil or right above the soil, we have all the pumpkins and squashes. We also have beetroot. Where is it? Turnip. They are similar in shape, but taste is completely different, and the energy is completely different. Turnip is pungent. If we eat it raw, it's really pungent. And beet it has a earthy flavor and is much more sweet. So beet is much more yin than the turnip, although they are round and they grow more or less the same way. It is half down under the soil and half upper the soil, and they both have long leaves, but the leaves of the beet are much more expansive, wider. And so all these signs give us the how can I say this? We put them in the closer side of the yin, and these in the closer side of the yang. Of course, if we compare the beetroot with this butternut squash, this is more yang because it grows under the soil, and the pumpkin grows upper the soil. Although the beetroot, although the beetroot is sweeter than the squash, the simple fact of they grow in different directions. So the beetroot grows downwards the soil, and the pumpkin grows upward. This has a more yin, expansive energy, and this has a more yang, contractive energy. Also, the onion, it also has a pungent flavor if we eat it raw, but if we cook it, it's really sweet. So onion is like leek. I think they are the same family. It is also a very balanced ingredient. This is why it is so used all around the world, because it is a really complete food. And I like to use this purple one because it is to give a different color to my dishes. Usually I try to use, if I use raw or quick sautés, I prefer to use this onion because it gives a different color to the plates. And color is also a way we have to play with energies and to give different aspects to our daily needs. So I think, and we have, I already spoke about this root. So it is the family of the carrot, but this is a very, very young carrot, a small carrot. They both grow under the soil with a strong F force going right down to the center of the earth. But carrot is more dense, more compact. So it's more young than, how is the name? I told it a few minutes.
Is it parsnip?
Parsnip.
Or, yeah,
thank
okay.
you. It's gone. Pastinaca in Portuguese.
Sounds like.
So, and this is much more sweet than carrots, and it has a really strong flavor. We can ruin a dish if we use too much of this pastinaca, parsnip, because it's really strong. So if we are going to add this as a new ingredient, it's better to cook it alone in a separate dish, because otherwise all the family can not eat our food because they will not enjoy the flavor. So the flavor, the intense flavor, and the smell, and again I'm going to the greens, but to the herbs. I have here basil, basil vase. When we enter in the kitchen, we immediately feel the smell of the basil. So this is a really strong yin characteristic of this herb. This is why initially herbs were not advised in macrobiotic cooking, because they have this intense flavor and smell. And in the beginning, there was a tendency towards more young food. But with time and gathering, reuniting different cookings from different places, we realized that it was not a very positive, how can I say this? It was not clever, maybe this is the expression, to leave aside all these herbs, because a small quantity of these herbs give a strong vitality to our meals. They are really important. Again, going back to our Portuguese traditions, we use herbs in all plates. And different herbs. So the south of Portugal use a different set of herbs than the north. And it is really interesting because the same ingredients have a completely different flavor and presentation, because they use different herbs.
Ana Luisa, we in the States, we use the expression too narrow.
Too narrow, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
But many of us came out of a background of highly experimental use of everything. And so
Yes.
we needed something very narrow to start.
Yes, and since you are saying that, and I told you that I'm passionate about art, and Pablo Picasso, I think you all heard about him, used to say that if we give ourselves restricted means to produce art, we will find amazing results. And sometimes I associate these experimentings in the beginning of macrobiotics with such a narrow perspective or range of foods, with these findings, with these amazing findings. And in a way, they found really important knowledges and results that we are all benefiting from them, from their previous adventures and the experiments. So again, going back to yin and yang, how do you call this in English? Ginat, I can't remember the...
Is that chives?
Chive, yes. This was the unique herb used, as far as I know, in the beginning of macrobiotics. Again, like celery. It has a really good amount of earth energy and heaven energy. It's one of the most young, fresh herbs we can find. So if it is young, it is good. We can add it to our plate. So miso soup with chopped chives, is it?
Yes.
It was a staple. And I love it with brown rice. Usually I always have this because it gives a good balance between the grain and all the plates. I also like to use these with bread. Usually I don't use butter sometimes, but usually I prefer to use a little bit of olive oil in the bread, a pinch of salt, and I always add some kind of herbs or these chives or not parsnip, how can I say this? This is
Cilantro?
Not cilantro, is parsley.
Huh.
This is parsley. I love parsley, raw parsley, with olive oil and a pinch of salt in a slice of bread. It is really refreshing and nourishing. So I use a lot of fresh herbs. It is also my tradition. And again, what is missing? About cereals, yes. Cereals, I didn't bring cereals to show you. It is more difficult to show you. It is really small. But again, the cereals, we catalog them according, if they are smaller, they are more yang. If they are larger, they are more yin. If they are more oily, for example, oats is considered to be the most yin grain of all, is large and it has a more quantity of oil. So in the opposite, we have buckwheat. It is not exactly a cereal, but we use it as a cereal, and it is small, it's sharp, it's really hard to broke, so it is really young grain. But if you remember in the beginning, if we have a scale with yin and yang, cereals are all in the middle, but they also have different qualities from yin and yang, like all the foods we have. And now, how long? So time flies. And again, with beans, exactly the same. I will show you. This is, how do you call it in English?
Pinto bean?
Black-eyed pea.
Black-eyed pea, yes, yes.
Ah, good. Yeah.
This is a staple in Portugal, everywhere. We can say this is quite similar to adzuki bean. If I go to advise a Portuguese person to eat more young beans, I will say to eat more of these. Often I don't advise to buy adzuki beans because they are much more expensive, and this is a really good bean. If we have a broader, a bigger bean, like red beans or white beans, they will be more young because they are larger, okay, and softer.
Be more yin.
More young, sorry, more yin.
Yeah.
More yin because they are larger and softer, okay, more tender.
If you had, Anna, if you had a choice of getting the black-eyed peas that are not organic or getting them or not getting them, which would you do? Because we don't have them organic.
Well, here in Portugal, it is.
So bring some to us. Oh, it is
Yes,
difficult.
yes.
Ah,
I prefer to have the beans.
okay.
Okay. Because going back to the starting point of my lecture, I try not to be afraid of anything. And I really try to make my life easier, not more complicated. And often, if we are always looking for the best food, organic, it is so difficult. We develop a certain anxiety to do the best. And it is really difficult. If we have a family to care of, if we have a job with higher responsibilities, we can't get everywhere. So if I can buy organic, if I have the time, if I have the energy, I go to the store and I buy. If I don't, I buy in the grocery in my street, and it is how I decide. Because I think that the energy that comes from inside of us and that we put in our food when we are preparing it is much more important. But this is a quite personal perspective. Okay, so you need to try and to see. So again, let me see. So we have 10 minutes, Ginette, and after 4 questions. Yeah. Okay, so we have these natural qualities about food, but we have the power to change these qualities. And the main, let me see my notes, not to lose me. We have mainly 4 ways to change the natural energy of the food: by the use of salt, by the use of heat, time, and pressure. These four methods can change completely the energy of the food. So if we bake any kind of food, we will give it a much more contractive energy, because the baking is usually a slower process, and it is inside of the oven, so it is young. It has a more condensed energy of cooking. This is why in the winter, having a roasted meal is so comforting, because it gives us that strong inwards energy that we need to survive to the winter, to resist to the cold. Pressure cooking is also a yang method, and it is used with more strong ingredients like grains and mostly grains and beans, because they are really hard, they are dry. So cooking in the pressure cooker will soften these ingredients. So it will change this very, very yang energy and give it a more yin energy, but keeping these core energy these ingredients have. Because again, in the beginning of macrobiotics, keeping the yang was something we wanted to do. But we can combine this very strong yang energy by adding light vegetables, steamed, boiled, quick, how do I say, quick blanched, is this?
Yes.
So it's a quick boiling, and of course, pressed salads is also a method, an important method used in macrobiotics. Pressed salads use raw foods, which is yin, but then uses salt, which is yang, time, and pressure. So it is a method to transform the yin energy of the ingredient, giving it a much more yang energy. Okay, so this is one of the things that I really enjoyed about macrobiotics, is to understand how we can change the textures and the energy of the different ingredients. More. So baking, pressure cooking, sauteing, steaming, boiling, pickling, pressed salads, and raw salads were considered and are considered the more healthy methods to cook. With sauteing, steaming, and boiling in the center, those who have a balance between yin and yang energies. But fried and deep fried were also used a lot in the beginning of macrobiotics. And for example, in Portugal, we still use a lot deep fried food, because deep fried food gives a really strong, vibrant energy to the food, and mix salt with oil, which is really nourishing to our bodies, especially when we are in the end of the day, when we are starving. These mixtures between crispy, fried, and salt and oil is really nourishing. Of course, we don't want to use it on a regular basis unless we have a really strong physical activity. If we are physical active, we can enjoy much more fried food. But if we stand all the day in a desk in front of a computer, we need to be careful and add other light dishes. Well, I had a few more things to say, but maybe I can quickly prepare the vegetables just for you to say. Or
Do you think you can do that in 5 minutes?
yes, I can do that. It's really, really easy. So let's start with the cabbage. We need a pot, a large pot. We will put a small quantity of water, maybe 1 centimeter of water. We will add, let's see if you,
Yes.
can you see it? Yes. So it has
Yes.
a little bit of water. A little bit of olive oil. Usually I add, well, I didn't have time to, usually I add a little bit of shoyu or tamari. I have tamari here. A pinch of tamari. Then the root next to me and the upper in the opposite direction. You cut these strong. Here.
Takes the core out.
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm just making a comment. That's all. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Then we put it, we need to cut it not right in the off, but separating these larger parts. Put it again here. So as you see, this is all tucked inside. We can, these are all leaves not, you leave them. Then a pinch of salt. So I had a small quantity of tamari, then few grains of salt, sea salt. And it goes to the stove. It takes around 20 minutes to be ready. We will get a really soft and tender cabbage. Okay. If your condition allows, you can add a little bit of black pepper in the water. It will give it a more expensive effect. Very good. You can store it in the fridge for 3 days and reheat it in the stove. About the celery, I just want to, I will not have time.
Leek. Leek.
Leek, sorry. In Portugal, many people don't use the darker green. This is my favorite. And if I will just to exemplify, one of my favorite garnishes in miso soup is raw leek, like this. I cut it in very thin slices. And then chop it like this. And we will get a very pungent garnish to our miso soup. And I think it's that. Giving a beginner's cooking class in 50 minutes is a bit
That was amazing.
impossible.
It was well done.
It is fun.
What else do you do with the leek? You talked about the green part and you said you love the leek. What else?
I use it in sautés that I will prepare, vegetable sautés to join with pasta, with spaghetti. So I slice these quite thin as I did this, and I sauteed it. It is really intensive, the flavor. But and this part I can either cut it in rounds like this, slices.
We don't see the cutting board.
Oh, sorry, like this, in rounds. I also like to play with long pieces like this. I cut it in the slice, then carefully, gently. We need to have a very good knife. I like to get these thin. They saute quite quickly in the how do you call this?
Frying pan.
Frying pan.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That-
It is.
Anna Louise, your leeks are not dirty when you buy them? They're not like in between the layers, they're not filled with,
Yes, sometimes they are. Sometimes they are.
you're lucky.
But usually I took off the outsider. I check. This is quite clean. This is very good. But the upper part, we need to be much more careful with this upper part, because it is really easy to find earth in
Mhm.
between. Yes. And I don't know if you want to ask something.
I want to say how happy I am for my daughters, because they have their little garden areas, 1 meter by 3 meters, and they grow leeks.
Wow.
And now they have a chance to use, to see how to do that. That's very nice.
Thank you, Mike. I love leeks. Yes, but I can anyway. I can write the recipe I wanted to prepare. Okay, and
Yes,
then
please
you
do.
can
Yeah.
prepare.
Mhm.
The cabbage is like a steamed. It cooks in the steam of the water in slow temperature. It is really good, really easy, no difficulty at all.
Oh, I know why I want to ask you. You put the salt at the end. Why didn't you put the salt where it was liquidy so it could dissolve?
Yes, because in the liquids I put tamari.
Right.
The energy go upwards. The salt is more yang. It will
Yeah.
penetrate the cabbage from the top.
Okay.
So
Very thoughtful.
that's why. And pepper, when I use pepper, usually I put in the end also, in the top, because steam builds a very active energy in the pan when we put the lid. So it is always moving. So the water moves, and this is why the vegetables cook so quickly when they are steamed, because it's a strong energy. Well, I guess I have to do a second part.
I think so. Yes, we are all witness. That would be
Another
great.
part.
Yeah.
But I
Anna,
enjoy
would you like to mention about the meetings with Macrobiotics?
Oh, yes, I can. Meetings. What shall I say about it? Well, meetings with macrobiotics started in 2017 because I felt quite alone in my practice, and I felt the need to meet other people working within macrobiotics, to share experiences, and especially to find support and someone someone to trust. And meetings with macrobiotics started last year in English, so it is the same version that I do in Portuguese, but in English. And the goal is the same: is to find people whom we can trust. This is the main goal. I like to call meetings with macrobiotics a safe place to belong, because no one is allowed to offend, and I use these words intentionally because we had difficult meetings in Portugal, especially during the time of COVID, when a lot of extreme polarities arose. And I don't want no one to feel embarrassed if they think or practice macrobiotics in a different way. So it is a sharing place where we know each other as persons, as individuals, our anxieties, our joys, and we talk a lot about macrobiotics philosophy and expectations, and I don't know,
If someone wants to join, what can they do?
Oh yes. Usually I publicize it on in the internet and Facebook, but you can send me an email if let me share in the chat. Okay. If you want to know more or to enroll, you can send me your email and I send you the enrollment form. Usually it is necessary to enroll, it's free. And the only thing we need is to have previous knowledge of macrobiotics and the willing to talk, because I ask everybody to speak. I don't leave anyone quiet. I like to hear everyone's voices. And I think it's that.
Good.
Usually it's in every 2 months, but it depends on my time.
Great.
Okay.
Well
Anna?
then, Anna. Huh? Are we ready?
Oh, Laurel.
Hi.
Oh,
I just was wondering if you had another one scheduled yet.
not yet, but I will soon. I will soon give news. Wonderful to see you, Laurel. I met Laurel in our meetings. Wonderful.
Anna, let me thank you from depths of my
Thank-
heart. It was just a pleasure. It's
Thank
really
you.
nice.
It was
Thank
a
you for
pleasure
your
also
time.
to me.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.